Live. Now, live from Los Angeles, here's Larry King. Later, Mikhail Gorbachev and Lamar Alexander, but we start with what will be the big story tomorrow. Alexander is pulled out, certainly. That's a big story. And Lugar has left. That's a big story. But the big story is that Jack Kemp, one of the prominent Republicans, has thrown his lot with Steve Forbes. Why now? Why so late?
Well, it is late, albeit not too late, Larry. Two-thirds of the Republican delegates are yet to be chosen. Some big and important states from Florida and Texas to California, where you are tonight, and New York tomorrow. So clearly there's still a primary. Primaries require not only candidates, but policies and a debate over ideas. And I came to the point where I just didn't want to stay out of the race. I felt sincerely that Steve Forbes was carrying a message of growth and jobs and tax reform and Social Security reform and an optimistic view of America headed into the 21st century that I just could not fail to endorse. So I went up to Albany today and endorsed my friend Steve.
Did you call him to tell him you were doing it, or did he call you to ask him you to do it?
I called him late last night, Larry, after I read in the Wall Street Journal that Bob Dole, who happens to be a friend of mine and for whom I have very high regard and respect, Bob said that in Buffalo, my hometown, at least my old Buffalo Bills hometown, Bob was quoted as saying that a Forbes flat tax would destroy the New York economy, or at least D'Amato said that. He said it would lead to an unbalanced budget. And I just thought somebody's got to defend the idea of a single tax rate system for America on the verge of the 21st century.
Now, Bill Bennett is your co-chair of Empower America. He was Lamar Alexander's campaign chairman.
Right.
Is he going to come on board with you for Forbes?
Only Bill Bennett knows what Bill Bennett's going to do. Vin Weber is for Bob Dole, Ambassador Gene Kirkpatrick, both of whom are at Empower America, with me and Bill are for Bob Dole. So some of my friends are for Dole, some of my friends are for Forbes, and I think mature men and women can have an honest and civil debate without turning it into incivility.
Bill Bennett will be with us Friday night. We're sure he'll have an answer by then. Have you spoken to him, though, about possibly, now that you're on the Forbes team, you'd like to get everybody to endorse him. Wouldn't you like Bennett to come aboard?
Well, I'm not concentrating at the moment on Bill Bennett. I think my hope would be that Steve Forbes or Malcolm Wallop would call Bill. I'm concentrating on New York and telling 2.8 million New Yorkers registered in New York as Republicans that if they really want a party of growth and optimism about the future and predicated upon Lincoln's vision of inclusiveness and equality of opportunity for all people that would turn America into an enterprise zone from sea to shining sea, they should seriously consider voting for my friend Steve Forbes.
Now, you're in St. Louis tonight because of a long commitment to make a speech. Will you head for New York after this, and might you not be able to get in? There's going to have snow all there all day tomorrow.
Yeah, I saw that. Lo and behold, snow in New York. No, I was in Albany today. My wife and I flew up to Albany to endorse Steve Forbes. I flew to St. Louis. Tomorrow I'm flying to Florida to speak for an old friend, Eddie DeBartolo, of the 49ers. He and Carmen Policy are putting on a big soiree with Steve Young, the quarterback of the 49ers, and as an old quarterback, I wouldn't want to miss that. So I'll be around, but I'm going to spend some time in Florida, Texas, and California for Steve, and on behalf of the ideas that I believe he represents for America.
Jack, as a political pro, why would you pick, and this astounded a lot of people, Bob Dole's biggest night in years? He wins all 8 yesterday. And that's tonight one of the more prominent Republicans, I mean, other prominent, George, the Bushes today, the two sons endorsed Dole, that you pick to come out for Forbes. Explain. Why the timing?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and I respect what you're saying, and I have taken a lot of heat from a lot of my friends who think that it is quixotic for Jack Kemp to jump in. We had the last meeting of our Tax Reform Commission, appointed, incidentally, by Bob Dole and Newt Gingrich, which you allowed me to participate in the Larry King live show just a few days ago.
The night it came out, yeah.
And a few weeks ago, I've been on several times. In fact, it's getting to be a habit. I'm still waiting for my check that's in
It's a happy habit, Kemp.
But look, I respect Bob Dole. He's a great legislator. He's a patriot. I consider him a friend. This is still a primary. Unity does not require unanimity. I have a friendly disagreement. I think a balanced budget is the result of good tax policy. He believes balancing the budget comes first. I frankly think we can't balance the budget without getting the tax rates down on working men and women and on the formation of capital that's so necessary to create the jobs, create the economic growth from which ultimately revenues come. So I'm a growth guy. Bob Dole, bless his heart, talks about growth, but he puts, in my opinion, too much emphasis on only balancing the budget, where I put my emphasis, as where Steve Forbes is putting his, on a radical new tax code for the 21st century, limitations on spending, and sound, honest money to bring interest rates down. I think that would be a recipe for doubling the rate of economic growth, making a bigger pie, creating more jobs, and getting America moving again.
Jack, an anonymous source inside the party said today, and of course we have to take it for that it is an anonymous source, that House Speaker Gingrich has warned you about siding with Forbes and said that you would severely damage your standing in the Republican Party with Dole in the lead. Is that true?
I don't want to confirm.
No, that's a confirmation, Jack.
Well, okay. Look, Newt and I are good friends. We can say things to each other. I've been banging on Newt.
Did he tell you you're going to hurt yourself?
You asked me the question. I'll just give you the answer. I've been banging on Newt and the leadership of the Republican Party to give us a budget. That President Clinton has declared he wants a 7-year balanced budget. He wants to cut capital gains. I said, Newt, declare victory and give us a budget. We'd get lower interest rates and lower tax rates on families and on capital gains, and that to me is important. So we talked that way to each other. He did say that I am making a mistake. I said I felt like Winston Churchill in 1903, who left the Tory party and joined the Liberal Party because he felt like the Tory party was becoming too protectionist and too isolationist. We have that type of relationship. We both love history. He banged on me a little bit, and I banged back, and our friendship will survive my momentary flirtation with not momentary flirtation with the issues. He knows my dedication, but we have a momentary flirtation, at least, with a loggerheads between Kemp and Gingrich. He's a very strong supporter of Bob Dole, and I understand his feelings.
We'll be right back with Jack Kemp. We'll include your phone calls, and still to come, Mikhail Gorbachev and Lamar Alexander. Tomorrow night, a complete look at the big New York primary. Friday night, Bill Bennett. Saturday night, we're going to repeat our interview on Larry King Weekend with Christopher Reeve. And next Monday, Dan Rather. We'll be right back.
Let me just say how truly excited, immensely excited and gratified I am that this extraordinary figure is now on board. It's really, as they say, not only made my day, but really made the week, the month. It is very, very exciting.
Larry King Live is brought to you by AT&T, your true choice.
My life is busy. I'm not a hermit crab. I go all over. But MCI friends and family's calling card discount only covered my calls to home. So I got AT&T True Reach Savings. It's the only way I can save 25% on every type of call on my AT&T phone bill, no matter who I call in the U.S.
AT&T True Reach Savings. Save 25% when you spend just $25 a month.
I never stop. Why should my savings?
AT&T True Reach Savings. That's your true choice. AT&T.
Not today.
Morning sinus. It's the worst kind of sinus pain.
How can I face this day?
When you've got to work, you've got to get strong sinus medicine that won't make you drowsy. Introducing non-drowsy Theraflu Sinus. Powerful new sinus caplets. No more pain, no more pressure, no drowsiness.
I can do this.
When it's got to work, it's got to be new Theraflu Sinus.
Not that different. We make about the same. Both have kids in college, worry about putting away enough to ever retire. So why don't I feel he's way ahead of me? Seems to be getting better advice. Comes up with stuff I never even think of. What do you have that I don't have?
Payne Weber. Invest with more intelligence.
While a brother may be hard to propel, the Hoover Power Drive is self-propelled, making cleaning so easy, even a brother can do it.
Hoover, nobody does it like you.
As CNN's coverage of Campaign 96 continues, voters in New York go to the polls with only 3 GOP candidates on the ballot. Will this seal it for Bob Dole? For live reports throughout the day, stay with CNN Thursday.
I should remind you that Jack Kemp made a lot of news today, and so he's here tonight. But he'll be here with Bill Bennett on Friday. That was originally booked that way, and we don't change bookings just because you become a star early at Kemp.
I'll stay home.
Also, we might add that we may have a historic meeting here as Kemp tries to get Bennett to endorse Forbes live. Hey, anything happens here.
I want to meet Mikhail Gorbachev.
Okay, he's in Moscow.
Oh.
Okay, all right. By the way, you mentioned...
I have some advice for him.
What is that?
Cut tax rates. They're too high in Moscow.
Before we take some calls, you used the term that you said to Newt, momentary flirtation. You didn't mean that, did you? That you're having a momentary flirtation with Steve?
I meant a momentary flirtation over an issue that has separated Gingrich and Kemp. I think it's kind of a momentary problem. I don't know if flirtation was the right word, but we are such good friends that we can have arguments without losing our friendship.
You are
with
Forbes for as long as he's in the race.
Oh, yeah, I'm going all the way. I'm going to go as long as he's going to go. And then if Bob Dole wins, Larry, I will be a strong supporter of Bob Dole. I like him. I respect him. He's a great patriot and a great legislative leader. And I think he'd make a great president, a lot better president than the one we have right now. But
San Diego for Jack Kemp. Hello.
Yes, Senator Kemp.
Congressman Kemp.
I'm sorry, Congressman Kemp. Yes, the Social Security tax is an extremely regressive tax to the middle class working American. And I'm wondering why we don't eliminate the Social Security tax, but continue to pay all Social Security recipients. Don't take their money away, and just have one flat tax and increase the tax rate 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever it takes, in order to continue to make it revenue neutral. And I think we'd have a tax cut on the middle class that would really get this economy going.
Well, congratulations on a very thoughtful idea. A lot of people are looking at what to do about the payroll tax in America. It's a burden on working men and women. It's a burden on the poor, because the day that a welfare woman or an unemployed father takes a job, they get hit on the first dollar of income with a 15.3% flat FICA tax, payroll tax, Social Security and Medicare tax. So the EITC, the Earned Income Tax Credit, offsets that. But Steve Forbes is suggesting, I think, something even better. He is suggesting that as young men and women enter the workforce, they should be able to take 1, 2, or 3 percentage points of their payroll tax and put it into a private mutual fund or a private retirement account or a private savings account. Steve believes, as do I, that people should own their own retirement plan. They could invest it in stocks or corporate bonds. The return would be 2 or 3 times what it is today on Social Security invested in T-bills. And Chile, New Zealand, Australia, a lot of countries are moving towards that type of a public-private partnership. And very frankly, we must do something about the payroll tax, because it is a huge burden on working and saving in America today.
Our guest is Jack Kemp, who endorsed Steve Forbes today. Back to the calls. Portland, Oregon. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Congressman Kemp, if Steve Forbes is the nominee, if he selected you to be the vice presidential running mate, would you accept that call?
No chance.
What do you mean no chance?
Well, we haven't even talked about it. A. B, political realities are such. He being from New Jersey, I played football for the Buffalo Bills and was a congressman from Buffalo, New York. So I was born in L.A. and played for the Chargers, too. So I guess there's some I sound like George Bush now. But I don't think Steve Forbes is in the business of picking a vice president right now. He should be in the business of winning the nomination, and I'm going to help him. And as far as I'm concerned, I'd like to retire and live with my my wife and 9 grandchildren and have the type of a life that only will happen if we straighten out our monetary problems, reform our welfare system, give us a new tax system with a single rate that's low, and eliminate the taxation on capital gains, which is a burden on the poor and the family.
How will Steve do in New York tomorrow?
I have no idea. I didn't look at it from a political standpoint to see how he would do. I just said that it was time for me to take a stand on behalf of principle, not politics. I did that. I hope my friends will understand why I would do it. I made a commitment to him a long time ago, and I was agonizing over what to do because I like Bob Dole so much.
You mean you had committed to Forbes that you would endorse him?
I told him a long time ago that if he went and ran on these ideas, that I would support him. I would be with him.
So why weren't you there from the get-go?
Well, I wasn't because Bob Dole and Newt Gingrich appointed me to chair this very important tax reform commission. Carol Campbell was on it, former governor of South Carolina, and Pete DuPont, governor of Delaware. We had a lot of eminent men and women who are concerned about this issue. And Bob Dole gave me that opportunity along with Newt. I played it very straight. We had our last meeting last Monday, and I probably would have stayed out of it totally. Hopefully, Larry, to play a healing role once the primaries were over. I must admit, not out of pique and not out of politics, I decided to get into it when I found out that surrogates for Bob Dole were criticizing Steve Forbes for trying to do what I had studied for 6 months and believed that we should do for New York, America, and maybe to show Mikhail Gorbachev the way to implement entrepreneurial capitalism in Russia.
We'll be right back with Jack Kemp. Mikhail Gorbachev is coming, and so too is Lamar Alexander, who pulled out of the race today. That's all ahead on Larry King Live. Don't go away.
Is Senator Dole the man that Republicans want, carrying our banner against Bill Clinton and leading us into the new century? And what I've discovered is that for most Republicans, the answer to that is yes. So I'm here today to end my campaign for the presidency and to congratulate Senator Dole.
Okay, camera left. Go right.
In business news, the paper trail widens in the discount long-distance controversy known as RateGate.
A discount long-distance company promised dramatic savings over AT&T. But watch what happens when you compare similar calling plans.
Those numbers are about the same.
What happened to that 15% savings? The answer when we return. Clearly, they don't hold up.
And we're out.
Call 1-800-COMPARE for a competitive price you can believe in.
It's too bad we don't have another name for high cholesterol. If it sounded as ugly as what it does to you, you'd pick up the phone right now and find out about treatment plans that could lower your cholesterol, reduce your risk of a heart attack, even save your life. Call 1-800-51-MERC for your free booklet and talk with your doctor, because no matter what you call it, you can do something about it.
When was the last time you felt the power of a mountain, the romance of a train, or the unexpected warmth of a stranger's smile? When was the last time you spotted orcas at play, or remembered how to spell Aurora Borealis? And when was the last time you felt so inspired by the simple act of looking out your window? Holland America West Tours. It's time.
A 166 megahertz Intel Pentium processor, 6-speed CD-ROM, and full motion video make the AST Advantage 800 one hot multimedia computer. Ask anyone.
There it is! I touched it! I did! I touched the box!
We're back with Jack Kemp, who, by the way, will be returning with Bill Bennett, his co-chair of Empower America Friday. Back to the call, Sierra Vista, Arizona. Hello.
Hi. This is from Sierra Vista, and I'd like to know how Mr. Kemp thinks that Mr. Forbes could use his lack of experience in the political realm to get Congress and Senate to actually pass a tax reform.
Yeah, why send an inexperienced person to that post?
That's a fair question, and it's one that I'm sure a lot of people have asked, and in fact has been reminded to them by Steve's opponents. First, let me say this though about Steve Forbes. I don't know of a smarter, more informed businessman on the face of this earth than Steve Forbes. He's traveled widely. He is a entrepreneur, and he understands things that I just wish people would talk to him about the IMF and what they've done to Mexico and what they've done to, say, Russia. But putting that aside for just a moment, if Steve Forbes were to win on this issue, it would establish, in my opinion, such a referendum on reform of our tax code for the next century that it would be incumbent upon any Congress, as it was upon the Congress when Ronald Reagan campaigned in 1980 on the Kemp-Roth 30% tax cut. In fact, many of the things, Larry, being said today about Steve Forbes' flat tax or our idea of a single tax rate system for America were said about the Kemp-Roth bill, that it would destroy the economy, that it would unleash inflation, that we never get any revenue, and nonsense. The economy grew, jobs were created, revenue went up, and of course Congress spent it all.
Economy isn't the only story. Will Forbes be a good president on issues like race relations,
Well,
issues like Bosnia, Cuba, Israel? Nothing to do with the economy.
No, well, she asked me about the economy. She said, how could he get tax
I know,
reform
but
if
I'm adding to it.
Okay, fine. I'll answer that. But I did want to answer the young lady's
And you
question.
did very well. But what about other things?
Thank you. I said, I believe with all my heart, this is a very, very well-informed person, individual, citizen. He worked for the Reagan administration in the radios for Free Europe and the USIA. He's traveled extensively. He understands the issues of trade far better than my friend Pat Buchanan understands them, by the way. And he understands that the important thing now that the Cold War is over, that we have to reorganize world trade, world monetary policy. We've got to reach out to the third world to include them in a growing global economy. And Steve Forbes, in my opinion, would be as good on foreign policy as he would be on domestic economic policy.
Back with
race
more
relations is very important, though.
Yeah, and he's strong in that area?
I believe he would be, because the
Because
only
the
way to get
president
race...
must lead in that area.
We have to, and that's very important to me, as it is to Bill Bradley, because we played professional sports, and I don't think this country can survive black-white relations being balkanized, as it were, and be split apart. We have a common stake in the good of all of our people, and I think Steve understands how to get the country moving again, but not leaving anyone behind.
Back with our remaining moments with Jack Kemp. Still to come, Mikhail Gorbachev and Lamar Alexander. All ahead on Larry King Live. Tomorrow night, we'll be right on top of the New York primary situation. And Friday night, Bennett and Kemp. And Saturday night, Christopher Reeve. We'll be right back.
Pop, I'm getting married.
This Friday, two families will meet.
Who is his father? His father is in the arts.
You do. Madonna, Madonna, Madonna.
What does the mother do? She's a housewife.
I missed the toast.
Anything could happen.
Call me.
Oh, perfect. And everything will.
Come here and give me a hug. They don't make women like that anymore.
The Birdcage.
It's a nightmare.
Rated R. Starts Friday.
Everybody was sandbagging, but it was no use.
The floodwaters bring more than destruction. They bring the unexpected.
We lost everything.
The volunteers go home and it's just you, throwing away your memories.
Floods can strike anywhere, anytime.
I never thought it could happen to us.
The National Flood Insurance Program can help. We can't replace your memories, but we can help you build new ones. For facts on flood insurance, call your insurance company, agent, or this number.
All dairies go a long way to meet high industry standards. But Quality Check goes further. Which is why more people are coming up to the fresher taste of Quality Check. Look for these dairies with a check in the queue, where higher standards mean fresh taste.
Sunday, the Cali Cartel, the world's most powerful cocaine syndicate. The inside story on how it came crashing down. The war on the cocaine cartel on the next CNN Presents, Sunday, 9 Eastern.
Just to clear something up, Jack, some viewers have called to ask if Empower America is endorsing candidates.
Can't. We can't.
Okay.
We cannot endorse just individual men and women of Empower America, Ambassador Gene Kirkpatrick, Bill Bennett, and myself.
Hortonville, Wisconsin. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, Larry. Good evening, Congressman Kemp.
Thank you, sir.
The question I have is, if Congressman Kemp thinks that there is a split in the Republican Party in the fall, do you think there's a possibility that Steve Forbes would run as a third-party candidate?
Absolutely not. Steve is a very good and loyal Republican. He will not enter as a third-party candidate, in my opinion. I don't think the country needs a third party. We just need two good parties, both standing for their traditional values and ideas and ideals, and I think that's what Steve Forbes wants to make of the Republican Party. I certainly do.
In a couple of weeks, on the 22nd, Ross Perot is going to be our guest. Do you think he's going to come back in, Jack, just as an opinion?
He sounds like he is going to. In my opinion, if Steve Forbes were to be the nominee of the Republican Party, Larry, there'd be no reason for a Ross Perot, because many of the things that Ross stood for, including at one point taking a tabula rasa, a blank sheet of paper, and drafting a new tax code. That was what Perot was talking about.
I think he still stands for tearing up the tax code.
I think he would be very pleased to have somebody like Steve Forbes as a nominee. I don't know what he's going to do. I know Ross and his wife Margot. They're a beautiful family. I respect what he believes in. I don't think he would need to run if our party, the Republican Party, is a strong party with strong policies and strong reforms and a strong agenda for America as we enter the next millennium.
Are you worried that the cleavage that Pat Buchanan has caused might be irreparable?
Pat Buchanan is speaking for a lot of people who have very real concerns, and they are profoundly concerned both about the drift in our culture as well as in the drift in the economy. President Clinton said this is the best economy in 30 years. That is just pure nonsense. This is not a great economy. The economy is only growing at about 1.9% per annum. There is drift in our culture, as Bill Bennett has articulated, and Bill Clinton has articulated. And it seems to me that Pat Buchanan is speaking for a lot of those concerns. In my opinion, they are far better expressed in a party and in a candidate and in a platform that doesn't try to put up barriers to trade, does not point the finger at third world nations, that doesn't try to get us into a trade war with Asia or Mexico, and that doesn't blame business for all the problems of labor. The answer is to do what Steve Forbes wants to do, increase the amount of capital invested per capita. That means more and better jobs, higher wages, more output, and a bigger economy, and ultimately more revenue to the federal government.
Jack, before we see you on Friday, will you be out on the stump? What are you going to do?
I will be in Florida, Texas, and California, as I was in New York today for Steve Forbes. I've got my own schedule to complete, but I'll do what I can to help Steve.
But no, you'll be making appearances for him, going where you can?
Yes. And then if Bob Dole wins the nomination, I will be a strong campaigner for Bob Dole, as I was for George Bush and Ronald Reagan and Gerald Ford, and going back to 72.
Would you campaign for Buchanan?
He's not going to get the nomination.
We'll see you Friday.
Okay.
Thanks. Jack Kemp, former Secretary of HUD, former congressman from Buffalo, New York, former great quarterback in the National Football League. Jack Kemp, who endorsed Steve Forbes today. When we come back, Mikhail Gorbachev, and then don't forget, Lamar Alexander will be with us. Don't go away.
Thursday on CNN's Burden of Proof, Bob Dole can't spend the money, Steve Forbes can, by law.
A campaign spending double standard? Thursday, 12:30 Eastern on CNN.
Introducing Citrus 2000, the all-natural cleaner made from oranges. Citrus 2000 breaks apart the toughest stains, leaving a fresh citrus scent. In the kitchen, it's great for that burnt-on mess, and it's safe on any surface. In the bathroom, it cuts through grime and mildew, and it helps kill germs. With Citrus 2000, you simply apply, let dry, and wave bye-bye. It's that easy. Citrus 2000, safe for the environment, safe for your family.
The jobs of tomorrow are here, thousands of them, waiting to be filled. But you have to know the fields they're in, and you have to have what it takes to master those fields. Because you can't get the jobs of tomorrow until you get the skills of today.
Start by calling ITT Technical Institute for an informative brochure. Call 1-800-823-6318. 1-800-823-6318. Call now.
Inside Politics, 4 and 8:30 Eastern on CNN.
Most of our focus this evening is on the fight to gain the United States presidency. Earlier, I spoke with former Soviet President Mikhail Gorbachev, who's going to enter a tough battle to win the presidency of Russia. And I asked President Gorbachev, why now? Why run for office?
Я пытался уже объяснить, и поэтому суммирую
Let me sum it up in a couple words. The situation in Russia, as far as I see, is sort of the equivalent of 5 minutes to 12 o'clock. And what kind of decisions will be made in the subsequent 4 years during the next presidency will have very long-lasting consequences for the future of Russia. This having been said, I think this is the key consideration which has prompted me to join the presidential race, or shall I say game.
Why is everyone saying that you have no chance?
Well, you know, this is indeed a complicated process. I've arrived at a different conclusion, and my opinion is that even at the very beginning, I still have something to rely upon, something I could use as a starting point. There are social opinion polls conducted in Moscow, which offer totally different results from similar opinion polls in different parts of Russia. I've received information from different parts of Russia to the extent that some people want me to join the presidential race and others do not. And people have been polled as to what they think whether Gorbachev can win the presidential race or cannot. I recently received information from the Republic of Chuvashia, where for the past 6 weeks, the local Chuvashia social opinion center in the city of Cheboksary has conducted 3 opinion polls asking the local public about Gorbachev and about a list of other 10 or 12 individuals. Here are the results. The highest rating, the highest percentage went to Mr. Gorbachev and Professor Fyodorov, the famous eye doctor. Professor Fyodorov has 17%, where Gorbachev has 37% of the police supporting him and prepared, to quote them, to vote for him at the presidential race should it occur, at the presidential election should it occur here and now. I've received data from the Moscow opinion polls today, where not 1%, but only 2% of the police support Gorbachev for president. I believe that if even today Gorbachev is being discussed while the man is in the shadow, he has not been given access to television. I have not had any live air time, which is a ban by the authorities.
Why are you not permitted in a now free society to air your views on the media? Why are you not allowed on?
Well, this is by far not an extremely democratic society, and it's certainly not democratic enough to be called the way you've called it. A lot of what was gained over perestroika, such as free elections, glasnost, or openness, the freedom of speech, they are all very limited. They are still there. They are having a role to play, but television is strictly controlled, and I have not been able to gain any access to television for the past 3 or 4 years, and newspapers, due to their particular financial situation, are under control. They are dependent, and even the most independent of them have to maneuver for survival, and what is being filtered through the Russian press is not necessarily an adequate description of what's happening in Russia and in the Russian mind.
The Washington Post says today in an editorial that many think that your candidacy will help the Communist Party's candidacy because all of your votes will be votes that you will take away from Mr. Yeltsin. What are your thoughts?
I tend to believe that President Yeltsin has been playing the same old game. He used to bank on Zhirinovsky's threat, and now he's trying to capitalize on the communist threat. And it's like supposed to be a dilemma that this country is faced with. This is not the true dilemma. For Russia to be able to get out of this crisis and get onto the road of stable democratic development, to gain momentum and start improving its standard of living and build up good neighborly relations with its close neighbors and the far abroad, neither of the two teams are required for Russia to be able to do that. These are the kind of political teams that express the extremist intentions. By the way, they constitute the parties of minority. Yeltsin's party is that of oligarchy, financial oligarchy, in the first place, while the Communist Party of the Russian Federation, led by Zyuganov, constitutes and represents a minority that's thinking in terms of the old past, and neither of the parties is offering us adequate answers. This is the false dilemma. This is not the dilemma that has to be answered. The dilemma is that all the democratic forces have to come together around a team of individuals who are genuinely committed to democracy, reform, brood on positive political programs, and capable of rallying Russia together, consolidating it. It is these rallied democratic forces and the parties of minority, I'm referring to the President's party and Zyuganov's party, that is the dilemma that the society has to answer, and I will contribute to show it to the Russians that they have to choose between these two. The future of Russia for the next 4 years, when Russia's future decades of history will be decided upon, these 4 years cannot be trusted to people who are either pulling us back or are trying to grab power.
Does Mr. Sharanovsky concern you? Does it worry you? Will he get a sizable vote?
No, I'm not concerned by that in the least. He will get a percentage, primarily because a considerable proportion of the population, and that's indicated by the opinion polls, supports neither Yeltsin nor the communists. Yes, a certain amount of the constituencies will vote for Zhirinovsky just because they will be expressing their discontent. But that does not scare me in any way, though I'll try and take the votes away from him, because this clown-like behavior, this speculation on what are basically dangerous mottos and slogans, it just has to be put an end to.
We'll be right back with President Gorbachev and more questions on Larry King Live right after this.
My life is busy. I'm not a hermit crab. I go all over. But MCI Friends and Family's calling card discount only covered my calls to home. So I got AT&T True Reach Savings. It's the only way I can save 25% on every type of call on my AT&T phone bill, no matter who I call in the U.S.
AT&T True Reach Savings. Save 25% when you spend just $25 a month.
I never stop. Why should my savings?
AT&T True Reach Savings. That's your true choice. AT&T.
At Panasonic, we're helping two kinds of Olympic hopefuls achieve their dreams. Athletes training for the Olympic Games and students training to televise the Olympic Games.
You lost focus, Karen.
Athletes use Panasonic video technology at U.S. Olympic Training Centers.
Lost focus, Dan.
Students learn to use our latest digital equipment in a special video training program at Clark Atlanta University. Panasonic is part of their training now. And come the summer of '96, we'll be with them in Atlanta as well. Helping to broadcast their triumph for all the world to see. Panasonic, we're more than a sponsor. We're part of the team.
A bottle of soda pop contains about 85% water. And what water is in the bottles of some of the world's best-selling soft drinks?
Hey, Culligan man!
Culligan, the world's source for better water.
There's a certain doctor making the rounds of the city's hospitals. He has a special practice. Murder. Scalpel-edged suspense from the master of the medical thriller, Michael Palmer. Silent treatment at bookstores now.
We're back with former President Gorbachev, last president of the Soviet Union, wants to be the next president of Russia. Some other areas we'll cover, but first, are you confident? Are you optimistic? Do you think you'll win?
Larry, here's what I have to tell you about this. If I were not counting on winning the election, I would not have got involved. This is not to say that I won't lose the election, but the reason I'm campaigning is because I want to win, and I'm planning to.
All right, turning to other things, and we'll get your opinions and thoughts on the election in the United States. First, Senator Dole looks very healthy, so to speak, right now. Do you know Senator Dole?
Well, it's a well-oiled mechanism in your country, complicated, intelligent, and sly. But at the same time, this is an interesting system, and I've been watching it. I've seen Senator Dole lag behind, and I could see it on his face and in his moods. And yesterday, I saw the senator the way I used to see him, a man who's confident in himself and one who's got a confidence boost after the results in the first 10 states. Yes, there are some very interesting candidates. I'm talking about the Republicans. Yes, indeed, I believe that everything there is going in a way that could have been forecast.
Are you going to take a position in the American election? Do you favor Mr. Clinton or Mr. Dole or any of the others?
No. With all due respect, you're not getting an answer to this question. I fully trust the Americans to decide for themselves.
Although Mr. Clinton has been President Clinton has been an ardent supporter of Mr. Yeltsin.
I would in fact be surprised, Larry. I mean, I would be surprised if the incumbent president or any of the candidates from the Republicans all of a sudden went on the record to say that they give personal support to any of the Russian candidates. And yesterday I understood that, and I think that was said by Vice President Gore, that it was the democratic values that the U.S. administration gave the prime importance to, and that is the correct criterion. And as far as the personalities are concerned, I think it is up to a nation to make its choice within the framework of a free election, not anybody else.
Do you like and admire both President Clinton and Senator Dole?
I've been looking at what they have been doing, and these activities deserve to be thoroughly analyzed, because their experience indicates a lot of efforts to introduce something new, both in the U.S. political scene and at the international political scene. There are certain things that I tend to give support to. It seems to me that recently the president has learned how to deal with blows dealt by the destiny and political opponents, and at the crucial points in time, he demonstrates a plausible reserve, and he would not rely on strength, which originally, early in his presidency, I was surprised by. A lot has to do with the domestic processes that are occurring in the United States, and I would really rather not get into the greater detail about it, although I do have an understanding and an opinion on all of them, but that's an entirely domestic affair.
A couple of other things. Are you concerned about the Middle East?
Yes, indeed. And the fact that today both the fact that Prime Minister Peres expressed his commitment to this process and reinstated his desire to do everything to make sure that the process go on, and what has been said by the President of the United States to to the effect that they are urging patience, responsibility, and a crucial stand in an effort to control terrorism. Terrorism is something that we cannot leave unattended. Myself, I am one of those who strongly condemn and denounce attempts to impose anybody's logic by way of terrorism, especially the kind of logic that we cannot appreciate now that the Cold War has been put behind our shoulders and that the process of resolving the Middle East conflict, the extremely complicated process, has been started. And I support the position that has been formulated by the United States on this issue. And I think that all the players will have enough resolve, to defeat the terrorists and to keep the process flowing, because this is a great chance and one that we're not to miss.
I thank you very much for being with us. It's always a pleasure seeing you. I look forward to more visits. You're looking very well. And I thank you again for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate. I was very happy to hear this invitation and immediately knew that I want to do it. I would like to tell you that I'm very satisfied with this meeting, and I hope to see you and hear you again.
Thank you, Mr. President. President Mikhail Gorbachev, his hat in the ring again. The official announcement coming in about a week. We'll be right back. Don't go away.
Dad, good news, bad news. You switched to that bargain brand of paper and saved us $21 this year. Now, the bad news?
Don't tell your mother.
The last thing you want to worry about is paper jamming. That's why Union Camp created Great White recycled content paper. It's virtually worry-free, so it's as good for your business as it is for the environment. Great White, only from Union Camp. One less thing to worry about.
Stanley, I'm home.
Son, hide this.
There's a place where the water is as clear as a blue summer sky, where you can play, get in shape, or relax and do nothing at all. A place where you can be with your children, or with your spouse, or just by yourself. A place that's refreshing and cool and as close as your backyard, your own pool. It's not just a place, it's a way of life. Make it yours. Call 1-800-323-3996.
A 166 megahertz Intel Pentium processor, 6-speed CD-ROM, and full motion video make the AST Advantage 800 one hot multimedia computer. Ask anyone.
There it is! I touched it! I did! I touched the box!
Thursday night on Larry King Live, the Big Apple's big primary could be the big do-or-die for some Republican hopefuls. We'll have the latest, plus Steve Forbes, Thursday night, 9 Eastern on CNN. We'll spend our remaining moments with the former governor and former Secretary of Education, Lamar Alexander, who left the presidential race today. Sad day, Governor?
Well, sure, Larry. I would like to still be in the race, but it's not sad in another way. You can't come away from being a candidate for president of this country without having a sense of awe, really, of respect for the country, for the people in it, for the possibilities we have. So in that sense, I'm very glad I did it.
What did you learn from this experience?
Well, I learned of the richness of the country. I mean, Larry, to be able to go from spending the night with the principal of a high school in East Los Angeles to going to northwest Iowa, where the Dutch Americans live, and they're so particular they pick the weeds out from between the soybean rows not because they need to, just because they do it. You get a great sense of the diversity of the country. The other thing I learned is that this country is hungry for a vision contest, for a real discussion about what kind of country are we going to have in the year 2000 and beyond. And if we have a trivial presidential campaign, we're going to have a very disappointed country.
Do you fear that might happen?
Well, sure it might happen. That's what I was trying to do in the Republican primary. My argument, which didn't win, was that what we needed on our side was were more ideas. Where's the country going? What's our future like? How do we create jobs, build schools, strengthen families? And I'd like to see our agenda be pushed up like that. Too often the presidential race is all about inside baseball and horse race politics, all that business.
Will you campaign for Senator Dole?
I absolutely will. I think in the field we have remaining that Senator Dole is the only one really qualified to be the President of the United States. He deserves to be nominated. He has character and he has integrity. I told all my supporters today that I went all over the country this year saying, or asking this question, do you really want Bob Dole to lead us into the next century? Do you really want Bob Dole to carry our agenda forward? And the answer I found from all these early primaries was, among most Republicans, the answer is yes to that.
You do have some personal bad feelings about Steve Forbes, don't you? I mean, you criticized him a lot.
Well, I don't think he has any business in the race for the presidency. I mean, his father didn't give him a column in the publisher position at Forbes on his first day, had him work his way up. I think he ought to do the same thing with the presidency. I don't have personal bad feelings.
And Pat
I
Buchanan,
criticized his tax plan, but not personal bad feelings.
And Buchanan?
Oh, Buchanan's the easiest guy to like in the whole group, but his ideas are completely wrong. I mean, I think what happened in the last 3 weeks is the Republican Party went into a Buchanan panic and saw Senator Dole as the most likely person to beat Pat. But Pat's ideas belong on crossfire. They don't belong in the White House, and he has no chance to get the nomination.
We'll be right back with Governor Lamar Alexander on Larry King Live. Tomorrow night, we'll stay atop the New York presidential picture as it votes a primary that finally counts. New York goes early this year. We'll be right back.
Okay, camera left. Go right.
In business news, the paper trail widens in the discount long-distance controversy known as RateGate.
A discount long-distance company promised dramatic savings over AT&T. But watch what happens when you compare similar calling plans.
Those numbers are about the same.
What happened to that 15% savings? The answer when we return. Clearly, they don't hold up.
And we're out.
Call 1-800-COMPARE for a competitive price you can believe in.
There's a certain doctor making the rounds of the city's hospitals. He has a special practice. Murder. Scalpel-edged suspense from the master of the medical thriller, Michael Palmer. Silent treatment at bookstores now.
Only one defined agility like Edwin Moses. Only one embodied control like Evelyn Ashford. Only one personified endurance like Frank Shorter. Only one runs like this. Seville STS with the North Star system. The great performers are always creating a higher standard.
Sunday on CNN Presents. It was one of the world's most sophisticated businesses, a multi-billion-dollar global empire, so powerful it seemed invincible, so elaborate it controlled a nation, the Cali Cartel, the world's most lucrative cocaine enterprise. An exclusive look at how it flourished and how it fell. The war on the cocaine cartel on the next CNN Presents, Sunday, 9 Eastern.
Governor, everyone says they don't want to be vice president. I imagine you joined that chorus, but if asked, you'd have no alternative but to say yes, right?
I suppose that's right, Larry. I have one other alternative. I would give Senator Dole a list of 5 other people I thought were better qualified. I don't want to be vice president. I didn't run to be vice president. I wouldn't be a very good second fiddle. I wanted to be the president. I'd be a very good agenda-setting chief executive for this country.
Would you want to go into the cabinet again?
I don't have a goal to do that.
No?
My goal was to help our country get on its feet as we go into the new century. I wanted to focus on job growth, on getting Washington to stop meddling so much and rebuilding families.
If Senator Dole were elected and asked you to serve in some capacity, you'd certainly give it thought, would you not?
Of course I would. I was taught by a very wise man in Washington named Bryce Harlow that if the President of the United States ever asks you to do something personally, that you have a responsibility to do it unless you have a personal reason not to.
Charleston, South Carolina, we'll get in a quick call for Governor Alexander. Hello.
Yes. Mr. Alexander, you ran on your campaign that we needed new, fresh ideas We didn't want any insider from the Beltway. I know you're referring to Bob Dole. Why is it that you would turn around and endorse Bob Dole for the presidency when really Steve Forbes is the only one that's really not an insider and is running on new, fresh ideas?
Well, because Steve Forbes isn't really prepared to be the president. He's had much too limited a background. His tax ideas are wrong for the country. Steve Forbes wasn't even, as I mentioned a little earlier, I mean, his father didn't let him be the publisher on the first day at the magazine. Why should he be the president of the United States on his first tryout in politics? He ought to work his way up. He ought to try being governor or senator or run for the school board. Bob Dole is a different person than I am, but he's very well qualified for the presidency, and I believe much better qualified than either Mr. Forbes or Mr. Buchanan.
Governor, any regrets?
No, Larry, no regrets. Always you think you could do some things differently, but this is a magnificent country. I've met so many wonderful people.
We'll
I
be
had
seeing.
a great time.
I know you did, and we look forward to lots of visits with you, Governor. Spend a lot of time together. Look forward to more.
We have, Larry. Thank you for inviting me back.
Governor Lamar Alexander. Tomorrow night, a look at the New York primary, and then Friday night, Bill Bennett and Jack Kemp and others look at presidential politics. We'll repeat Christopher Reeve on Saturday. Next Monday, Dan Rather. Thanks for joining us. For the whole crew here in Los Angeles, good night.
I'm Kathleen Kennedy at the CNN Center in Atlanta. Just ahead, longtime enemies join forces to fight a common foe in the Middle East. Does the Constitution protect your right to die? A federal court weighs in on assisted suicide. And they're a common device in the delivery room, but are fetal monitors setting off false alarms? Those stories and more are coming up next on The World Today.
This is the place for in-depth coverage of the world of sports from morning to night. This is CNN.
Tune in TCI for a TNT world premiere.
What do you call this little piece of heaven? Welcome to Andersonville. It is a place without civilization.
It's a place where justice and revenge are often the same. This is the great untold story of the Civil War. Anderson.
We're gonna make it through this together.
Premiering on TNT in March. Tune in the drama on TCI.
At 21, he was the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Now, Mike Tyson wants to be undisputed champion again. He wants to unify the title. He begins against newly crowned WBC champion Frank Bruno. Is Tyson ready? One thing's for sure. Bruno is. Bruno versus Tyson. Heavyweight championship. Saturday, March 16th, live on pay-per-view.
Bruno Tyson fight, Saturday, March 16th, live, 6 p.m. on TCI pay-per-view.
Are you missing a way to save